So let's start our meditation. You start breathing in gently through your nose. Let yourself just fall softly like a feather on a summer breeze. Fall softly, knowing that you are whole, perfect, and complete, exactly as you are. You are loved, so loved. This universe is made of a tapestry of love, and it's flowing into you, and you belong here. So loved. The uniqueness of you is a blessing of the universe. You are blessed. And because you belong in this universe and you're part of the flow of the mystery of greatness, you are safe, safe, safe. And because you are loved and you're blessed and you're safe, that means you're free. You're free. May this day be filled with joy for you. And may you stay in every instant and not in the fantasies of the past or the fears of tomorrow, but in this blessed instant into which flows all of the beautiful, beautiful, cherished treasures of the multiverse, all yours, flowing into you. This instant, your body is completely well. Everything is exactly as it should be. Your life is unfolding exactly as it's supposed to be. So at your own pace, come back to us. Welcome to those you from here and from around the world. Welcome. I want to start off by saying that we're talking about Ho'oponopono today. Ho'oponopono. And I'll explain a little bit more about that in just a moment. But Martin Luther King Jr. said, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. When we look at the darkness around the world, then we have to ask ourselves, am I part of the darkness by concentrating on it or focusing on it, or am I bringing light into that? And there's hatred. Oh my goodness, let's not even talk about it. It's part of the darkness. Are we the love that shines into that hate, into that darkness, and illuminates it? Each of us. Today we're talking about Ho'oponopono, the cherished and beautiful ancient practice of healing and forgiveness, performed on the South Pacific Islands of Hawaii, Samoa, Tahiti, and in New Zealand. This sacred practice calms our minds, heals our relationships, and it generates body wellness and mental and emotional wellness. And here's how it does it. We start by recognizing that everything in life, everything, including especially our thoughts, is connected in one circuit. Our communication with one another goes on continually, even when we're not talking. We're always communicating because we're always in line with each other. And because we're all connected and because we're all connected to the world, that means when I change myself, I change you. Does it sound crazy? Dr. Hugh Len, clinical psychologist in Hawaii, has proven it. Dr. Len was hired to head a ward of criminally insane people at the Hawaii State Hospital. The ward was a violent and dangerous place, and they had constant turnovers of doctors and staff because people felt threatened. They'd walk down the hall, they had to have their back against the wall. So when he was hired, he said, I'm going to accept the job, but I want the files of each patient. And he got the files of these patients and he took them into his office and he sat there alone and he stayed shut up in there every day, going over those files. No one was allowed to disturb him. And this continued daily for 3 months. And then a strange thing happened. The peace on the ward started awakening. People became more gentle, more peaceful. The patients stopped being violent. And the staff went to him and said, what the heck are you doing? And he said, I'm using Ho'oponopono to cleanse and heal the minds of the patients. It seemed unbelievable how the atmosphere became pleasant and the healing became progressive. It was really an amazing thing. 4 years later, there were no more patients and the ward closed. Mabel Katz, who's a follower of Ho'oponopono, said, we all have an eraser incorporated within us, a delete key, but we forget how to use it. Ho'oponopono helps us to remember the power that we have to choose between erasing, which is letting go, or reacting, being happy or suffering. It's only a matter of choice at any moment in our lives. And we all have minds weighed down by memories, don't we? Ho'oponopono frees us from those memories and beliefs and the veils that they form over our consciousness, blocking us from the light, blocking us from the constant and continual flow of love. That is our right. There are no people that we've ever come in contact with in our lives ever that are not still there. They're all still there. You might be remembering somebody fondly or maybe not so fondly in the past. I got to tell you, they're still there. You can't undo a relationship. You can only change how the relationship is working. The relationship goes on. And they're feeling and hearing your thoughts all the time as you're hearing and feeling theirs. And it has an effect on your life. That's what Dr. Hugh Len proved. That our memories are not only alive inside of us, they're alive inside of them too, equally. For you and me to have the fullest lives that we can have, we must cleanse and rebuild the connections between us and others. Through Ho'oponopono, we realize that words are reflections of us. And when we change our words, the world changes. Mahatma Gandhi said, if we could change ourselves, the tendencies in the world would also change. As one changes their attitude, so also changes the attitude in the world toward him. As I change my attitude toward that divine flow of consciousness that is all things in all places and all people in all places at all time, when I change my attitude, toward that, it changes its attitude toward me. And instead of blocking the flow with my ideas that things should, could, would be different, I allow that to flow into me. There's a statement that one makes that changes one life, frees them from old opinions and beliefs, fills them with grace of life. That statement is, and this is the Ho'oponopono key. This is the key that I say to you, I say to the criminally insane, I say to the person going by in the ambulance, I say to the people with whom I have a problem, forgive me. Wait a minute, stop. Why forgive me? I didn't do anything. You did it. No, it's us. We did it together. We're all flowing together. So I say, because I'm owning my part, here's Ho'oponopono. Forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Forgive me. Thank you. I love you. When you can do that, such that you open the channel again between you and all of life, what happens? What happens is that your life changes. And that's a pretty big order, isn't it? Because each one of those three phrases comes up hard against our old selves, against my old self. When I say selves, I mean attitudes we have that define us. They're our identities, aren't they? They are our identities. They're our egos. They're mighty self-protective and they dominate us. If we could see our egos as ourselves, then when the ego dies, so do we. Well, wait a minute. Then that means if my self-identity is my ego, it's all my memories and all my ideas and all my loves and hates and revenges and attitudes and disbeliefs and resentments and regrets and wishes things were different. And if I'm in all of that stuff, then I've cut off the flow between me and the universe. We're back to that fantastic word acceptance, which is built of gratitude and forgiveness. And so if I were to change my ego saying to me, don't do that, I'll die, don't do that, don't change I'll die, because I am your attitude. And you have to have the courage, the spiritual courage to move outside of your ego and say, I am an eternal being temporarily living in this physical body, and I will not allow my brain mind, my intellectual brain mind, to rule me. It is my servant, not my master. I will get in charge of my brain mind, and I will change my ego. I will change my mind. Josh Shipp said, you either get better or you get bitter. Well said. We're each in this like vast library. Life is like a vast library. And we're in this vast library of life. Vast. And there's unlimited books to read. Unlimited. Do we read those books? Or do we have one that we relate to? This is my book. I can read this pages and this is my life. This is who I am. This is my identity. Well, there's all these other books and they're all yours too. All the people, when you see, I was with a guy the other day, beautiful story. I was with a guy the other day, and this guy used to be a guy who was real quiet and just stayed inside of himself. And now he's a person who's starting to just love people, and he's starting to reach out to people. And he said, it's just amazing to me. I meet people and I talk to them and they open up. Even people who are close, they just open up and they want to talk. And he said, I'm learning so much about people. Those people were always there. They were always him. There's only one of us. We're just in a bunch of different bodies. They were always him. And so getting out of our way and allowing ourselves to open up, that's part of the Ho'oponopono. Eric Hoffer, who was actually a longshoreman, a philosopher, holy moly, just have so much love for this guy. The longshoreman, just a guy who thought from his heart. He said, the remarkable thing is that we really are love. We really love our neighbors as ourselves. We really do unto others as we do unto ourselves. We hate others when we hate ourselves. We are tolerant toward others when we're tolerant toward ourselves. We forgive others when we forgive ourselves. We're prone to sacrifice others when we're ready to sacrifice ourselves. Alcoholics Anonymous, for those of you who are addicted to mind-altering substances, say we need Egos Anonymous for those of us that are addicted to our egos. Okay, that's what Ho'oponopono does. It does so by going inside of you and saying to the people around you who are troubled, please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And you're ready to begin the practice of Ho'oponopono in your life. You know, it's interesting to me that we have all of these healing modalities, physical healing modalities in hospitals and laboratories with vaccines and transplants and the ability to go in and even heal some DNA problems. It's just amazing. It's amazing. And it's not to be put aside. Medical science is wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And it's doing this wonderful work of going directly to the problem in the body and trying to heal the problem in the body. What we're talking about is, who are we other than the body? And what of us as other than the body do we bring into the body that either gives it peace and grace and lets it flow, or we bring it in and it causes dis-ease? Who are we? And you know, this practice of Ho'oponopono in the South Pacific, but there's that same kind of practice that's been going on in the Aboriginal native tribes all over the planet since the beginning of civilization, since people started living in tribes and in groups and in families. It's been going on. There were always medicine people or holy people, holy woman, holy man, who was able to channel, to bring in that gift of life and to bring those people back together. And they all went through, all over the planet. They didn't, the God that they had was nature, was reality, was the great presence of life flowing through them. They all believed that they were the tree, they were the rock, they were the fish, they were the eagle. They were in just different forms, and they lived with that, they danced with that, they flowed with that. We've gotten away from that. We go to schools and we learn reading, writing, and arithmetic. And something's going on and we go to the doctor. But we don't live healed lives. We don't live healing lives. And the reason that we don't do that is, of course, because we're not practicing the old ways, because we weren't taught the old ways. So I think it's important that we go back to that library and we start opening new books. A dear friend of mine that I love very much told me one day that, I mean, he had been really working on his spiritual growth, and he was advancing and advancing and advancing. And he went and stood at the ocean and he put his arms out and he said, I'm ready. I'm ready. And it took a long time before I really understood exactly what Jim was saying. But what he was saying is, I'm ready to leave here. I don't mean that he was ready to go leave his body and die. I mean, he was ready to leave everything that he believed he was. Because, see, Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven is within you now, within you now. But is it really? I mean, those are just cool words, but is it really? If it is, then how do I know that? Here's the thing. When Jim was standing at the seashore saying, I'm ready, here's what was happening. He was said, I'm ready to leave here. So whatever we think of here is, this is who I am. This is my security. Oh boy, that's a big word. This is my security. I'm secure in my ego. Then secure here. This is who I am. I can't get to there until I leave here. There being spiritual oneness, there being that delight, that bliss, that ecstasy of knowing that right now you're in heaven. Right now. It's not coming. You know, I feel a little bad for those people who think that when they die, they're going to go to heaven. That's just, I think it's going to be like they leave their body and then they go to the pearly, make this up, of course. They go to the pearly gates and St. Peter said, "Up, what are you doing here?" And he said, "Well, I came to go to heaven." He said, "You just left." So, you know, the way to get to heaven is to get there now, but we can't get there from here. We have to be willing to leave here. So whatever is going on in my life, whatever, other than complete bliss and oneness with the flowing tapestry of this magnificent universe, anything else that's going on in my life is not supposed to be there. It's a bump on the road. It's a darkness. And I need to be able to get rid of it. I think oftentimes that you and I are like those multifaceted crystals that you put on a string and hang in your window. And when the sun shines in, it just sends a spray of beautiful colors around the wall across the room. Well, if you think of us like crystals, and that the light shining is the light of the universe, the light of presence of the great one shining into us. And then we say, but there's certain areas of my life that I'm occluded. So you get a little black marker and you just mark out this facet and this facet, and a little resentment over here. I'm not sure of my health over here. I'm a little afraid of this over here. I don't like any of this over here. And then that becomes consistent. Listen to me. That becomes consistent with your belief system about who you are. Let's get that crystal fixed so that it's consistent with your belief system of who you are. Block out those facets. Now the light's still shining through, but the expression that's coming out of that crystal on the far wall has certainly been deleted in many ways. And so it can't be whole, perfect, and complete. So we need to get the magic marker off of those facets so that we can be all that we were meant to be. So this week, on Thursday, I'm going to start a class on Ho'oponopono. And I'm really excited about doing that. And I just think that if you're available, you might want to drop in. It's going to meet from 7 o'clock to 8:30 Pacific Standard Time once a week for 6 weeks. Cost is $150, US or Canadian. Again, it's only an hour and a half once a week. So go to my website at bobtrask.com and you can find all the information you need there. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for joining me for your weekly reset. It's been my honor spending Sunday morning with you. If you enjoyed today's message, will you please make a donation to help us keep these weekly resets coming? You'll find the donation button on my website, bobtrask.com, in the upper right-hand corner. Thank you. Thank you for being here. And thank you for being a love in my life. Be well. Have a good week. Those of you who want to stick around, we're going to have questions and answers for the next little while. And, you know, if you want to come and be a part of that,